All right, let's dive into this episode, this out of control episode. Welcome back. So this video is going to be about episode 13 of How to Get Away with Murder's 6th season, titled, What If Sam Wasn't the Bad Guy This Whole Time? It'll be a recap followed by some analysis and then predictions as to where I think the final 2 episodes could be going. And yes, there will be spoilers. But before we get started, thank you for watching. I do post new videos weekly, so if you want to stay in the loop, hit subscribe and that thumbs up to see more videos like this one. I also take my top 3 favorite comments from my last video, then feature them at the end here, so be sure to stick around for that. Oh, and one last thing. This Wednesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be going live on YouTube. It's actually a huge thank you for helping me reach 2,000 subscribers. So it's going to be a Q&A, and then we're going to follow up with some chat about how to get away with murder. All right, let's dive into this episode, this out of control episode. So we open up where we left off with Frank and Nate. Frank's pissed and wants to go back for Xavier's body, but good old Nate has a plan. Meanwhile, Connor and Michaela are dealing with the consequences of being recorded by Annalise, and they're spinning it in a way where they claim that they did it on purpose. Now, when I heard this, I remember what a couple of you have said about Annalise telling the kids that she was going to use this recording in her case, and they actually have some sort of secret plan. And part of me feels like we are going to get a flashback revealing this later on. Regardless of that though, Connor and Michaela have violated the terms of their immunity deals, so they negotiate new terms, but get counter-offered by the FBI wanting additional testimony. And welcome to Storyline C, ladies and gentlemen. We'll check back in with them in a bit, but not much will be happening here. Now let's jump on over to Annalise and Vivian. Apparently, Hannah called Vivian shortly after Sam's death, yapping about Annalise being responsible. But Vivian wasn't having it. She got AK's back, and that was the last time they spoke. Oh, and supposedly Hannah doesn't know about Gabriel. Good evening. We're about to head into Flashback World. Here are the rules. When we talk about scenes from Flashback World, it will take place in this color scheme. And please keep in mind the events of this trip to Flashback World will take place after Annalise had the car accident, after she and Sam lost the baby, and after Sam had gone to visit little adolescent Gabriel. Please enjoy your stay. So Sam is writing an email to Vivian confessing his love for her and so on. Vivian reads it, she responds saying to call after midnight, and Sam lies to Annalise saying he's gonna go call Hannah. Okay, so you're gonna notice an overloading amount of references to Hannah in this episode, like tons. Anyway, Vivian and Sam plan to meet, then they do, and wouldn't you know it, Sam ends up sweet talking Vivian into doing a horizontal mambo. Mamba? Salsa? Anyway, during all this, I'm just sitting there like, Vivian, you couldn't have left that part out. Vivian being petty as f right now. So Vivian claims she included that part to explain how Sam always used sex to get what he wanted. And who do you think he learned it from? Our girl Hannah. Their parents were so neglectful, so they found love in a hopeless place. Each other. Yup, so hold on to your bootstraps, everybody. We're going down this rabbit hole head first. So Frank is with Bonnie now, and she's tending to his wounds and puts a band-aid on them. She's pissed at Nate as she's putting a band-aid on Frank's wounds, but Frank says Nate has a plan with a band-aid on his wounds. Band-aid. So Frank calls Sam after Sam sleeps with Vivian, and he wants to talk to Hannah, but Sam screams at him, claiming Hannah doesn't want to talk to him. Now, if you saw my last video, I mentioned suspicions that Frank is loyal to Hannah. I just find it strange that they reveal Frank's willingness to want to thank Hannah, and she was there in the present at a given time, yet they were never in the same room together. And he even went as far as saying he would take her out the Frank way at one point. Remember this for later. Now, Sam now claims he's ready to leave Annalise for Vivian. Remember this as well. And then he tells her about the car accident, his baby boy, and how he doesn't want to be a neglectful father to Gabriel like his parents were to him. Okay, so now Vivian is trying to convince Annalise, because this is all speculation, mind you. She doesn't know for sure. She's basing it on a feeling and the fact that both Sam and Hannah became psychologists because they wanted to understand their relationship. So they actually use this clip. Then AK throws Vivian out and Annalise looks shook. Alright, now Annalise tells Bonnie and Frank the news, but they need proof. Then Frank tells her about Nate and Xavier. And speaking of Nate, what's good old Nate up to? So Nate's meeting with the FBI and wants an update on finding Xavier. And look who strolls in. Agent Murderer. Part of Nate's plan. So Annalise calls Tegan, and now they get a private investigator to find proof of an intimate relationship between Sam and Hannah. Tegan's like, what the damn hell? And now let's check up on Michaela. So Michaela's still with the FBI, but refuses to sign the new immunity deal. Apparently it's asking them to lie about what? They won't tell us, but I got nosy and paused the screen and tried to read it, but it says something about blah 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 perjury, blah 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 obstruction of justice, blah 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 law-y stuff, but no details as to what they have to lie about. Anyway, Michaela tries to call her lawyer, but the FBI... You know, I just realized whenever I say the FBI, I'm really just talking about Lanford. So just make a note of that, because I'm still gonna call him the FBI. Anyway, instead of allowing Michaela to speak to her lawyer, the FBI says he'll do it for her. And I bring this up because that seems shady, right? I'm assuming if Solomon is in the IHAFC, that lawyer would be too. So regardless, that lawyer's instructions would be to take AK down at all costs, no? And of course, you know me, during all of this, the only question I was asking was, where the hell is Oliver and his shady ass? Finally, Vivian is trying to convince Gabriel to leave. They have two important scenes together, and they are both written and performed extremely well. In fact, give it up to every performance in this episode because they never cease to amaze me. Anyway, Frank somehow gets Vivian's phone number and threatens her and Gabriel. Remember this. Then Bonnie asks Frank about a conversation he had with Sam earlier. Oh, and there was this flashback I didn't mention because all it did was establish that Frank wanted to think and meet Hannah, and Sam was still mad at Frank about the car accident. And I guess it actually was kind of important. Remember this too. In fact, just remember everything about Frank. So Bonnie asks about that. Frank invites her to have dinner with his family, the Delfinos. Thought I should clarify that. And then Sam walks in on Bonnie and Frank doing it. So he's pissed and he's venting to Annalise because he doesn't want Bonnie dating a delinquent. They go back and forth, Annalise calling it jealousy at one point, and I was like, damn Annalise! But eventually it's resolved by not being resolved and them both disagreeing. And I'm not downplaying this scene at all. It was a lovely scene. It's just one of those that would be difficult to describe. Also keep in mind, a lot of Sam's dialogue comes with a lot of weight because we know he's hiding a secret with Hannah. And you know what secret that is. So Annalise and Frank are waiting in Tegan's office when Frank's band-aid falls off. So he throws it away and Tegan's got some deets. Her PI Lou, which of course Tegan would have a PI named Lou, has data that shows Hannah and Philly near some FBI facilities. But that's it, nothing else. Then Frank mentions his aunt Bev, but it's just a dead end. Remember that. All right, remember when Bonnie was driving and her brakes got cut and she got into that accident? Okay, so Nate is looking into that night and requests traffic cam footage. All part of his plan! Then Bonnie comes over. So the FBI is in on Connor now and he's refusing to sign the new immunity deal too because same things, lies. What lies? They don't say. But the FBI decides to coerce him by adding Oliver to the mess under hacking and computery stuff and charges. And I see what's happening here. Oliver set this whole thing up and he knew I was on to him and he told the FBI to do this. All right. I will admit, this did make me a little less suspicious of Oliver. A little. Okay, so Nate's back at the FBI. This time, though, he shows up with an image of Agent Murderer at the scene of Bonnie's car accident. Then he calls the FBI out on being dirty and uses his testimony as leverage to have them do something about it. Bonnie goes to see Annalise, and they have this really interesting scene talking about Sam. And speaking of Sam, Sam meets with Frank, basically calls him living trash, which will make sense later, and tells him to end it with Bonnie. He tells Frank all about her childhood, which is a major breach of confidentiality. Regardless of that though, it works and Frank breaks poor little Bonnie's heart. This leads Bonnie to talk to Annalise and we get another great scene. It was really powerful to show their relationship from that point up into the present. It really just shows how much they've grown and what they've been through. So Lou, the private investigator, can't find anything on this Hannah lady, but they won't give up because Annalise admits that she actually believes the incest accusation, so they plan on getting high school records. And now comes the most well-written and well-performed scene in this episode. Annalise confronts Sam about breaking up Frank and Bonnie. He lies, and he had their baby cremated and he wants a funeral. It's really 0 to 60 with this guy. So they have a very powerful argument over each of them feeling personally guilty for the loss of their baby. I love this scene, but basically this moment keeps them together. So no more Viv. We do get a scene of Sam spreading the ashes over his parents' graves though, so that's it people. That baby is not some grown character on the show, and it is not Wes. All right, everyone. Looks like all you Gabriel haters out there will be happy. I think Gabriel's leaving. He's got his room all packed up. He has a great scene with his mom, and I didn't detect 1 ounce of suspicion on him, and I think he's clean. No, but in all seriousness, this is that second really great Gabriel and Vivian scene I mentioned earlier, and it's a really touching moment between mother and son. Okay, and now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. So Tegan and AK go over the yearbooks and discover that Hannah was supposedly out with mono for the span of a time that happens to match that of pregnancy. Anyway, Connor and Michaela are now back at home, and there's Oliver. Apparently they got to keep their original immunity deals, so Michaela leaves the room and Connor reveals that he signed the new deal. Yeah, the one with the lies. The lies they wouldn't tell us about. My guess is Michaela's lawyer was able to pull some strings, so maybe X her off the suspicious list, and Connor caved because they threatened Oliver. And I have no idea where to even start when thinking about this additional testimony the FBI wanted. Comment down below with your thoughts. I'd like to hear what you think this additional testimony is going to be. Back with Tegan and Annalise, they can't find any hospitals with record of Hannah giving birth, but based on the month Hannah returned to school, they pinpoint the month of March, and then for some reason Annalise looks into the calendar in her phone and she sees a name! Great, so Bonnie and Frank meet up, they chill, they googly eyes each other, and then they talk about how it's Sam's fault that they lost all those years together, so they're gonna make up for them now. Only to further solidify my claim that one of them is going to die, and then things start really steaming up with them, if you know what I mean. But before we move on, I absolutely loved the song choice for this scene and the ones following, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. So Tegan needs a blood sample tested against Sam Keating's DNA. All I have to say is Band-Aid, and you know what I'm talking about, but the scene did give me my favorite line of the episode.
I need this on a rush.
Okay, but we are beyond backed up.
Would $2,000 help? Appreciate that.
So the FBI phones Nate and Nate after interrogating Agent Murderer. This changes a lot, and I'm interested to see how the information the FBI obtained from Agent Murderer affects the trial, if it does at all. By the looks of it, the FBI is clean, so who is he controlled by? His sense of justice? They may not even use that information. And then what is Nate's plan? Oh yeah, and then we find out that Frank is Sam and Hannah's kid, and Bonnie is the first person Annalise tells. I mean, other than us. Pretty sure the blood lab told us before it even got back to Annalise and Tegan. Anyway, that was the episode. Did I hate it? No. I thought it did offer some incredible development for most of the characters. Do I think the reveal was cheap? Again, no. If anything, I'm just surprised they went that route because so many of us predicted it. Now, it wasn't my favorite episode, but I'm really excited to see how this reveal is going to affect the story, and How to Get Away with Murder is still delivering, at least in my opinion. But I can totally understand why this reveal turned some of you off. All I ask is to give the show its final 2 episodes before you pass judgment. Anyway, what do we got here? 2 episodes left, and I think Laurel's back this next episode. I'm still calling Secret Witness on Annalise's side, or main villain. Aside from that, Connor's in trouble. We don't know why, but he is. And then Nate. Not sure what his endgame is here. And I forgot to mention the FBI threatened Nate with suspicions that he's involved in Miller's death, so they definitely do know more than we think they do. On top of that, we don't know what Agent Murderer revealed to the FBI. Did she give the full truth? The Castillos, the governor, was that even the truth? So I'm really excited to hear about that information. And what else? Oliver and Solomon, you already know how I feel about them, so I guess we'll just talk about this whole Frank business. So not only is Frank the son of Sam and Hannah Keating, but he was responsible for his half-brother's death. He threatened to kill his other half-brother, and he murdered what could have been another sibling when he killed Lila. Think about that. If Frank finds this out, that will break him. The way I see it, it goes one of 3 ways. Number 1, Frank doesn't know. He finds all of this out and he chooses to sacrifice himself and confess for Annalise in the end. Maybe using the fact that he found out that Sam was his father and then killed him or something. We also don't know what he found under the sink. Maybe that ties into it. Number 2, Frank already knows and he's working for Hannah. Remember that phone call to Vivian I mentioned earlier where Frank threatened her and Gabriel? That doesn't really seem like something Frank would do without direction. And who else would want to threaten Vivian? Hannah. Now throw in the fact that Frank knew about Gabriel, which means Hannah probably knew too, which means Gabriel could still be working for Hannah. But like I mentioned before, I just find it so odd that Frank wanted to thank Hannah so badly in the past, like he knew something. And then for that all to just go away and him to say he'll take care of her when she came snooping around after Sam's death? That sounds like a front, or maybe she reached out to him afterwards and told him the truth. Also, the mention of Aunt Bev made me wonder if that's important to remember later. Okay, that's a lot, and there's a whole video dedicated to this, so go check that out, and it's gonna be linked somewhere here on the screen. All right, number 3 and hear me out, but Frank never finds out. We know that Bonnie knows, and let's say Bonnie decides to keep it from Frank because she knows Frank and knows that it'll break him. So they keep the proof of the incest baby, but they keep the identity anonymous. Then Bonnie and Frank leave off into the sunset and they live happily ever after, and she never tells a soul. And I realize I sound psychotic when I go off on tangents like that, but honestly, I think if they want an actual future together, she needs to keep it a secret. And other than that, the title of the next episode is Annalise Is Dead. Now this could mean like, oh man, they just killed Annalise in court, or oh shit, Annalise is dead! In any case, I heard this person brought up in a couple of your comments, and I completely forgot about Sally, the woman that Annalise admitted to being involved with her husband's death to. You can't tell me Sally ain't see Annalise on TV for the same thing she admitted to and wasn't like, hello, I would like to speak to Hannah Keating, please. I completely forgot about her, but she's definitely going to be making her way back in. It's also about time that we address the whole Snow White reference, because I think that's going to be key these final episodes. I have to give credit to Elena Chambers because you need to find and read this comment. It is broken down so well. So you have the 7 dwarves, which represent our lovable AK gang, Connor, Michaela, so on, but Snow White is our big bad, whether that's Hannah, Laurel, Burkhead, or whoever. And the evil queen is our Annalise faking her death. Now, in my opinion, I think this is probably the most accurate representation of this analogy, but seriously, you need to go find and read that comment because I cannot do it justice in this video. Now, this leads into Annalise's roadmap as to how to get away with murder, and I have, and I'm really gonna mess up this name, Majadu Al-Gaziganos to thank for this. But Annalise's first class on how to get away with murder included this: discredit the witness, introduce a new suspect, and bury the evidence. And that's exactly what Annalise is doing right now. She discredited every informant she had, the recording with Michaela and Connor, and now Nate with Xavier. Now she needs to introduce a new suspect. Meet Miss Hannah Keating, everyone. Finally, she has to bury the evidence, like literally bury it with a fake death, or maybe even simpler than that, bury it with a secret witness like a Laurel or a Wes. Any old one of those will do. Either way, I feel like this is Connor, Michaela, and Laurel's last test. Or final killer test. Get it? Because the season, okay, I really don't know what's going on right now, and I just need to stop talking about it, or I'm going to spiral. So let's just move on to my top 3 favorite comments from my last video, and because I sneakily already showed you 2 of my 3 favorite comments, the final one is from To Be or Not. So my favorite part about this one is the speculation that Connor is going to have to choose between Oliver and then Michaela and Annalise. And that ties into the conversation that Oliver had with Connor's dad when he mentioned that he needs to save Connor from himself. He seems to always be the one that's taking this the hardest. And we saw him have the panic attack when he's being interrogated, and it looks like that isn't a one-time thing. So I think this may be accurate and it may tie back into Connor's past. Plus, this still feeds into my Oliver suspicion, so you gotta love that, right? All right, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end. Don't forget to leave your thoughts down below. There are 2 episodes left. Oh yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, I'll be doing that YouTube live at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just a small thank you for your support, and we can do a Q&A and then talk live about how to get away with murder. Okay, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, feel free to click one here. Then don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It really helps me out. Then subscribe with a side of notification bell. Until next time, shine on, you crazy diamonds.